Hello, Bloomington. I'm Mayor Tim Busse, and this is the Council Minute for the week of March 15th. This week's meeting began with the introduction of our new Director of the Community Development Department at the City of Bloomington. Her name is Carla Henderson. Carla comes to the City of Bloomington with an impressive and an extensive background in planning, infrastructure maintenance, community engagement, and economic development. And that experience spans the private sector, nonprofits, and local government. Carla's municipal experience includes nearly 2 decades working in 3 Michigan cities: Highland Park, which is a small suburb of Detroit; Ann Arbor, which is about the same size as Bloomington and is, of course, the home to the University of Michigan; and the city of Detroit. In each of these cities, Carla advanced quickly through the organization because of her exceptional leadership abilities. During her time in Detroit, Carla also served at an officer level for 2 area nonprofit organizations and as Director of Capital Development for Wayne County, Michigan. She later became the Managing Director and Change Strategist for a consulting firm working with cities and nonprofit organizations on things like economic and business development, comprehensive planning, and project management. Carla is stepping into a big job. Bloomington is a regional driver. The Community Development Department works at an intersection of economic development and neighborhood vitality. Bloomington has a long-standing and a well-earned reputation for making things happen. From the vision more than 3 decades ago to redevelop vacated stadiums into the most visited attraction in the United States, to a first-of-its-kind housing ordinance in Minnesota that has spurred development of new housing options to meet the growing demand within this community. In recent years, the City Council has also focused on neighborhood revitalization by pouring more resources into home loan programs and infrastructure improvements to make sure that our single-family housing stock is in good condition and that the appearance of our neighborhoods is welcoming and fresh. Making sure Bloomington continues to be a place where people want to live, to be a place where entrepreneurs want to start a new businesses or where companies can grow, and to be a community that has ample opportunities. These are big challenges, and I'm excited that we found someone who is certainly up to the job. This past Monday was Carla's first day with the City of Bloomington. We're looking forward to working with her and her leadership and to work to make Bloomington an even better place to live, work, and to visit. The COVID-19 pandemic created a lot of issues that have challenged all of us socially and economically. The loss of life has been a human tragedy of unimagined proportions, and the pandemic has exposed a lot of our social structures as being inadequate during times of great need. One of those areas is how we shelter the homeless, which is a regional issue for the Twin Cities that became an urgent issue for Bloomington as a result of the pandemic. As many of you know, last year a number of hotels in Bloomington made their properties available to agencies providing shelter services to the homeless and to the housing insecure. Because of how fast these service providers were trying to get people into safe shelter housing, they didn't have a lot of time to set up the structural supports that are often necessary to serve the needs of homeless people. Bloomington saw a tremendous increase in police, fire, and EMS calls for service to many of these properties, and frankly, it strained our services and increased the number of crimes being reported and created a community-wide concern about public safety. Last fall, our city staff focused our resources on working with the property managers at the hotels and the service providers to make sure that the challenges were not overwhelming city services or threatening safety in our commercial areas and our neighborhoods. This week we had an update from our staff, and I'm glad to say that things are much improved since last fall, and they continue to head in the right direction. We're down to only 4 hotels serving as shelters with supportive services, and while calls for service at these hotels, it's still higher than what it was prior to the pandemic, we've seen a steady 3-month decline in those calls for service. And at the hotel with the largest number of calls, the Comfort Inn, about 30% of those calls are medical in nature. In addition to the active engagement of our staff with the property managers and service providers, the City Council enacted an ordinance in early February that requires hotels to seek a temporary permit to shelter homeless persons. To receive the permit, the property has to demonstrate that supportive services are available and that adequate measures are in place for security and for public safety. And we are holding property managers accountable. We're using the city's nuisance abatement process. Properties that continue to be a drain on city resources are being fined for failure to comply with city regulations. Things are improving as Hennepin County and social service agencies continue to move more people into permanent shelter housing across the Twin Cities. I want to thank our staff for the work they've done to respond to the Council's concerns and to your concerns about public safety, while also recognizing the importance of treating the crisis of homelessness with compassion and humanity. For the second time this month, the City Council spent time working through the issues necessary to implement ranked choice voting, which was approved by a voter referendum in last November's election. Staff is preparing the ordinance that will guide how we conduct our elections for city elected officials. Ranked choice voting will only be used for mayor and city council member elections. Elections for school board, state legislators, and other offices will still use the traditional voting method. Much of our discussion this week focused on how many candidates a voter will be able to rank, how we will count write-in candidates, and how the vote tabulation process will work. At our meeting next Monday, March 22nd, we will have a public hearing on the proposed ordinance. And I should be very clear that the public hearing is not about whether we should have ranked choice voting or not. Voters decided that in November. The purpose of the public hearing on Monday night is to get input on how we conduct ranked choice voting elections. You can view the proposed ordinance language on the city website's public hearing notice page, and it will also be available in the City Council's meeting agenda packet when it's posted to the website. Well, that's a wrap on this week's Council Minute. As you can probably tell, we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day. So I'd like to finish today with the traditional Irish toast of sláinte, which means to your health. And to use it as a reminder that even though we're making strong gains in our battle against COVID-19, we are not out of the woods yet. Please continue to follow the guidelines outlined by the Minnesota Department of Health. Be smart in your decision making, and when your time comes to get a vaccination, please do so. So, sláinte, Bloomington, to your health. I hope to see you again next week.